Good stuff.
Yeah, welcome back, guys. I was just chatting to Charles then, say I've literally just walked in from a networking event, which was actually really good. It wasn't your standard networking event. We actually kind of got to sit around tables and meet each other in more depth, and everyone kind of discussed the struggles of their own business. So it wasn't a pitch fest, which was nice.
Nice.
It was meeting genuine people that want to grow their business and kind of talk about the struggles in their business, which is super relevant at the moment because I'd say nearly I felt out of place because everyone's issues were around lead gen and marketing. And like that's what I get paid to do. So it's not my issue. But it's it's just like hearing the same issues that people are experiencing over and over again. It just reinforces to me, okay, there need to be some better resources out there to kind of help people, which is why Charles and me really started this. To be completely transparent, we wanted to start to help people to get them to a level that we could work with them personally. But also, we know that there are going to be some people in here that are potentially already at the level that we would like to work with. And once they hear what we're about, the services that we offer, how we're genuine and upfront, and not your typical kind of sales pitchy freelancers, like we want to work with you to grow your business. That's our only goal. If I can't help you, I won't take you on as a client. That's generally how I operate, and Charles is the same. So yeah, but again, just reinforce to me again tonight how important marketing is to your business and knowing how to get your product out there. You could have the best product out there in the world, but if no one knows about it, unfortunately, you're not going to sell anything. So yeah, we're here to help you to get the groundwork done on your marketing, and in later episodes, really dive in and kind of give a more advanced kind of insight into what you can be doing to increase your marketing as well.
Yep. You've got to promote, 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 promote. It's like you said, you could have the best product in the world, but if no one knows about it, then you're not going to sell any. So it's part and parcel of running a business, isn't it?
100%. I'm just so me and Charles actually each week we kind of shoot through some notes to each other. We don't plan these calls, but we kind of dot point out what we'd like to talk to you guys about, and you literally hear on the fly what we want to say about each topic. So I'm just having a look now at kind of what we're going to cover today. So the first one was around building an audience and kind of examples of brands that have been able to do that really well and how they use them. And I also wanted to talk. I'm actually going through this with a client at the moment, but what to know when you're building a new website. So it's something that a lot of people struggle with, but questions that you want to ask and what you want to be looking for and how you actually do that. We're going to touch that on a surface level and give you kind of the base understanding that you'll need to kind of go into any of those discussions. We're also going to be talking about advertorial pieces uh, for your e-commerce businesses. So it's something that me and Charles have been speaking about a lot lately because we want to implement it more for our own clients. So you're going to kind of hear firsthand what we think about them, how we're going to make them work, and potentially how you can add that to your own business. And Charles, I just see you've got notes in here as well that we want to discuss if we've got time, in this hour block around creating content assets and why blogs aren't dead yet for your e-commerce business. So
Yep.
that's kind of what's on the agenda for today. I like to I've kind of, because these are an hour long, I like to kind of put the agenda at kind of the start of the chat. So if something is relevant to you, you can either skip to it or at least know that's coming. And stuff that you're already well across or got covered, you can kind of um, scroll past if it's not relevant to you at the time. So just setting out kind of what we're going to be discussing today.
Good stuff. So, Jimmy, where do we want to start? You put a couple of brands down there that I saw. I had a little bit of a delving very quickly before I jumped on. But yeah, talk to me.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the importance of building an audience first for
Okay.
your e-commerce business because it's something that I think every e-commerce owner should at least consider. And it's so underutilized. It's especially on Facebook. Everyone thinks Facebook Facebook groups are dead. I can assure you, both me and Charles have spent thousands of dollars from stuff in Facebook groups. Well, I know we have over the last 3 weeks even. So,
Yep.
whether it be courses, products, or anything of the like, Facebook groups are a really good place to still build an audience of people interested in your topic. And I wanted to touch on audiences because I've got kind of examples of a couple of companies that have done it well and how they did it. But also, if you're if you're wanting to get into e-commerce and you haven't even like picked your product yet, like this is like prime for you figuring out what you could actually sell. So the first company is called Coconut Bowls, and they kind of came on the scene for me in an Australian Shark Tank episode where they got funded, but they were doing millions of dollars. But the more interesting thing to me was it was a great idea, great product, but the owner actually had another business before that where they sold kind of Asahi, like the Asahi fruit bowls. They sold the ingredients for those. So he already had an audience of people that were interested in this product. And it makes sense that if you're buying those kind of fresh fruit products that you would eat it out of a really high quality coconut bowl. It just made sense. So he already had an audience in the sense that he had another business that had a complementary product to the one that he wanted to get into. So this is more of an example of if you want to add additional products or you want to expand your business, like what can you add additionally to your business that your customer is already looking for that you may not have even considered? Um, it's I think the more relevant one would be because the other example I've got a similar preference. They had a previous business. It was a tarot cards company, but they already had a printing business. And when COVID hit, they just used their printing business to print cards and market them, and they market them really well. So um, that was not so much that they had the audience with an existing need for the product already. They had an existing business that could basically undercut anyone that was doing a similar product because they actually controlled the manufacturing process, which I thought was really interesting as well. There's another company only because I used to work on this account early on when they were pretty much launching. The Collagen Co. So they sell collagen supplements in Australia, probably globally actually. They're an Amazon #1 bestseller. Their website does really well. But what's most interesting to me is the audience that they've been able to build and the social proof that they've been able to gather. Their Facebook group on Facebook has just over 20,000 people in it for a collagen supplement. And it's something that businesses haven't even considered. Like, who's thinking, oh, I'm running this business. Let's create a community of people that would be interested in this product. And there's a few ways you can go about it. So let's say you had a protein supplement that you were selling. You don't want to start a Facebook group called the best protein supplement. You want to start a Facebook group for your target audience that would use your product. So for example, if your target audience is, people that are going to the gym all the time, you might start a Facebook group that's like, you know, the best kind of uh, free workouts on Facebook for building muscle. And then you're building a group, an audience that one cares about their health, wants to build muscle, and then on the side, you've actually got a product that's going to assist them to do that. So that's what I mean when creating an audience. You want to go a bit general. You want to open it up. You don't want to be, um, for that example, creating a protein supplement group. You want to be creating a group for the people that are actually using that product, which I think It's such like a heavily underutilized practice at the moment. Hardly any of my clients have Facebook groups, and one is just starting at the moment. And I'll give another example because this is kind of a car parts company. So they're starting a group on for I think it's called. I'm not 100% sure what it's called yet, but it's along the lines of car modification enthusiasts. So people that want to add products to their car or need products or need parts, like you can't start a Facebook group called uh, car parts, Australia. Like, who's interested in that? But when you've got a community of like car modification enthusiasts and you see what people are changing and what they're doing, they need parts, and that's where kind of your product and service can kind of come into it. So, just a quick tip to everyone and a little thing that I wanted to start on. Think about how you can create an audience and don't expect it unless you've got a massive email list that you can promote this group to, which is a good idea. If you're starting from scratch, it's going to be a grind. Like even when Charles and I started our Facebook group, the e-commerce marketing community, we said to each other we might be talking to 10 people for the first 3 months. So it takes some time, it takes some consistency. You got to show up regularly, um, and build it over time. But yeah, you can definitely shortcut it if you've got an email list. It takes one email to say, hey, we're building this community on Facebook. I'd love to answer your questions and just get involved and help our community. So yeah, it's a thing that if you haven't implemented already, you can add it to the list and start thinking about how you can add a community aspect to your actual e-commerce store.
It makes total sense. I mean, it's also a testing platform, isn't it? You can
Yeah.
get feedback in terms of what your audience is potentially looking to buy. You can test new ideas in terms of products, or get feedback before you even start or launch a new product line. Yeah, 100%. It's almost, if anything, you could build the audience before you actually build the ecom store. You Yeah, if you're starting
100%.
from scratch and you're just documenting your journey in terms of a particular product or even just a topic. I know, for example, we're talking about car parts. One of my clients started out by really building a huge YouTube following over time, and it took him years and years and years. Like, he's been doing it for nearly a decade, but now he's got over 300,000 YouTube subscribers, and people go to the website specifically because they trust him and they know that he's a credible kind of source, and he's enthusiastic about the what he's selling as well. There's a genuine interest there. So yeah, it can be really powerful building an audience, and it allows you to kind of differentiate yourself from just the stores that are faceless, that have got no real kind of person or real brand story behind them.
It's interesting as well, especially for the people that started out, even at this marketing event tonight. I heard a lot, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, and then my next question was to them is, what do you do on them? And they're like, oh, I haven't posted anything yet. You, you're on them, but you're not visible on them at all. So there's a difference between being on the platform and actually creating content for it and being visible on there. And you can't create an audience unless you're putting out some kind of content. And a big motto that I've even been trying to implement myself lately, because I'm guilty like everyone else of just mindlessly scrolling Instagram or TikTok every now and then. I have to keep reminding myself, I want to be the content producer, not the content consumer. So
Absolutely.
it's what I've been trying to implement a lot more, even myself. And I'm trying to get clients to think about doing the same because, to be fair, a lot of my clients are heavily reliant on the Google Ads service that I offer. So I really want them to add additional arms and traffic streams to their business, which is why I want to get into coaching as well. I don't particularly want to offer those services, but I'd love to manage them for them in some capacity. So that's where I'm leaning as well as, you know, teaching people how to market their e-commerce business effectively. That's why we're here. So yeah, there's a lot to be said about building a strong personal brand. The YouTube example that you just gave, Charles, was an awesome one. YouTube is great. Sometimes amazing e-commerce businesses start from people that already have the audience, and then they're like, actually, I can actually produce a better quality product than what's out there already, and sell it to an audience that trust me and would get a lot of value out of this product. So that's a great example using media outlets like YouTube and followings on Instagram or social media of some description. People that already have an audience getting into ecom. But I think it's just important people that are in ecom already to build their own audience too. So it definitely goes both ways. They're important and they work in synergy for each other.
Yeah. I mean, and also I would suggest picking one platform to start with to really kind of grow your audience, and then you can always leverage that platform to then grow on other platforms as well. So whether that's
Yeah,
starting with
it's
TikTok or YouTube.
it's It's not that you shouldn't do more than one at once. It's that especially if you're the business owner, it can just become overwhelming
Yeah.
to like upload to all these content platforms. And then ultimately they get burnout and give up. So I think it's definitely sound advice to kind of focus on one to start off with. And even if you hire like a virtual assistant to, you know, edit the content and post it on another platform for you, so you don't have to worry about it. But yeah, definitely focus on building on one. I'm big for that too. So I think at the moment for me, if I was building, it honestly depends what product you've got. Like if you've got a product that's super visual, like in terms of, let's say you've got like a cleaning product or something, like a visual cleaning product, a visual video of them showing the cleaning product working is going to work really well. So you might build an audience on Instagram, but there's also a huge opportunity to build like a Facebook group around cleaning enthusiasts, which I know there's heaps of them because I see the video all the time and everyone wants to know the latest kitchen hack to get the cleanest kitchen, or especially when you've got little 3-year-olds running around like me that dirty up everything. Like if I can fix up something quickly, like I want to know about it. So um, yeah, I don't want to go too much on the audience stuff. I think we covered a lot of it and given people some food for thought. But yeah, if you can build an audience, I would highly recommend getting into that. I need a break from talking, Charles, so we're going to jump into one of your topics about
Yeah, sure.
why blogs aren't dead yet. So let's jump into some blog stuff, and you can take the lead on some blogs, and I'm sure I'll have a couple of questions for you too.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, firstly, uh, you've probably heard, if you've done any kind of research into kind of blogging in order to drive more traffic to your website, people will tell you you need to blog more or you need to blog. And I always say, well, why? Firstly, well, the first thing is, yeah, it does drive more organic traffic. Now, there's no doubt that blogs are not read as much as they used to be. Obviously, people are consuming more video content these days. But from what I'm seeing with my clients, there is still an ROI there to be regularly blogging. I mean, just kind of an example, recently, and I posted it in the group earlier. Um, I've got a client of mine posted a couple of blogs a few months ago, and I've been kind of I've been on them to say, look, we've created a number of blogs for them, and I've said we need to get more on the site because they're actually seeing results, they're getting traction, and again, you've got potentially thousands of extra clicks and eyeballs and exposure to your brand by actually producing blogs. Um, you've got the opportunity, whether it's in a blog format or whether it's in um, a content hub style format, however you present your content, you provide guides, resources, it's going to build more exposure, and it's an opportunity to rank for more keywords for your store. Um, the other great thing about writing more blogs or content is that you can then link from your blogs to your collection or your product pages, and that's going to help those pages also rank higher up in Google. And what's called, it kind of passes what we call kind of SEO juice authority through to those pages, which will in turn help them rank higher as well. So the caveat here is you've got to make sure that you're producing quality content, and it
I was just
needs to
about to
be,
say that.
yeah, it needs to be produced with the right framework, which means it needs to be properly optimized with the right keywords, otherwise it's not going to rank. It needs to be well written and people actually want to actually read it. And three, it needs to be designed on a website in the right format that it's easy for people to read. The amount of blogs which I land on, or I kind of, when I'm doing some research, and it's, the text is really small, it's a terrible layout. Those type of blogs are never going to be found on the first page of Google. If you find any blog on the first page of Google when you're searching, most of those top results are going to be, they're taking into account the design and the way the page is laid out in order to get them ranking higher up. So, in summary, for sure, based on working with my clients, blogs are still driving traction, and they are a great way to not only drive more traffic to the site, but also help what I call your money pages, your product and your collection pages, also help them rank higher, which is fundamentally what you want. There's no point driving more traffic to the site if it's not going to convert to any more sales. So it needs to be done in the right way, basically.
I agree. What I would say, and the question I want to ask you, Charles, just about research. So the mistake I see people making is one, they produce a blog article that one I would never share and provides no value, and these are the people that say your blogging doesn't work. In my mind, like if you've chosen a topic, let's just say, um, the best protein for bodybuilders or whatever. The first thing that I'm doing is typing that into Google, having a look at the top 10 articles and seeing if I can write something better than that. So I think
Absolutely.
that's the absolute baseline starting point for where you need to be. So if you're actually writing a blog and you take the title of your blog and put it into Google and you read the top 10 articles of what's already on there, you want to make sure that it's better than what's already out there. Um, the other thing I would say, actually, I've just lost my train of thought on that, but I had another
No,
point that I just wanted to bring up on that,
it,
but
you'll come back to you in a minute as I start talking. No, 100% right. You need to first go into Google, check what you're up against, and create something that's significantly better at least. Otherwise,
I,
you're not going
I
to have a good chance of
have
ranking.
remembered. I want to ask you before I
Go on.
forget again. So the other mistake that I see, like especially new e-com businesses, they want to go after the main keyword first. So for example, like someone that had a protein supplement business and they've gone, you know, the best whey protein or something, and they've written a blog on that, wanting to rank for that on Google. Like, good luck. You're never getting there. So I wanted to talk about your strategy and explain the difference to people about targeting longer tail keywords compared to, like, I would say, like the holy grail keyword.
Yeah, so just so people are clear, so longer tail really is more than one single keyword. So it could be um, protein powder for bodybuilders. That's a longer tail keyword. Um, the kind of shorter tail would be protein powder. Um, so in terms of the way that I would approach this, I'm always looking to identify, keywords that ideally have a high search volume. So there's a lot of people searching for it, and the competition is smaller. So in terms of kind of how difficult it is to rank on Google, you're going to have a much better chance because the keyword difficulty is a lower score. Now, in the way to do that is you can use tools like SEM Rush, Ahrefs. These are going to give you an indication of how easy or difficult it is going to be for you to rank for that keyword. Now, in most cases, if you're in a established competitive market, like I'm sure most of you already are, unless you're selling a very niche product, you're going to need to go after longer tail keywords that maybe aren't actually searched for as much, but you need to get, but the competition is a lot easier, because if you're going to try and compete with the big boys, unless you've got a strong website already and you've got a lot of links to that site, you're very established already, it's going to be very difficult.
And Charles, I wanted to ask from your point of view as well, like without the SEO tools, if you search for basically a title of your blog that you wanted to rank, are there any like eyeballing tests you use in the top 10 results that you could be like, okay, we can easily outrank that? I know like the SEO world kind of used to use, if websites didn't pop up and it was just kind of forum articles popping out, it was usually a
Yeah.
good indicator that you could rank for that. But lately I've seen like Reddit's traffic just skyrocket through the roof. So it's harder to gauge now whether you could outrank that because Reddit's really high, because Reddit seems to be popping up everywhere lately. Apparently it's a new agreement that they've got with Google, and Google are pushing them a little bit higher. But if anyone's looked at the traffic spike at Reddit on the last 6 months, it's astronomical.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the SEO world are not too happy about the fact that Reddit is ranking for everything at the moment. Um, Look, the way that I would approach this is I'm delving into those top results. I'm seeing, can we produce a better piece of content?
Is
Um,
there, sorry, to just is there a free extension that you use from the Google side that like people that without using a tool could use to kind of gauge how competitive it might be for like
yeah,
uh
there is. You could use. I think even the keyword everywhere tool shows you the domain authority, so the score of each website. So basically, yeah, in terms of domain authority, it's basically a score which is given that typically it's based on how many links a site has. So it can kind of be manipulated. So I don't always look at domain authority score. And I'd like to also stress that, you know, there's been many cases that I've been able to outrank a website that's got a far greater domain authority score than the one that I'm trying to rank for, purely because I've just produced a far better piece of content than what's already been produced by that higher domain website. So just because a site has a stronger domain, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't outrank that replica piece of content if you're producing something far better. So there is some nuances to it, but kind of to summarize it, I'm always trying to look really, certainly if you're starting out with a domain that is relatively new, you want to be looking at the longer tail keywords that are less competitive, which is going to give you the better chance of ranking those particular pieces of content.
I find the e-commerce businesses that aren't new, even like a lot of them aren't even doing this. So
It's true.
this is definitely not just for people starting out. If you've got an e-commerce business and you're not at least exploring creating, if you're an established business, you really want to be going after kind of the authoritative guide type pieces, the ones that are going to be shared a lot. But I've seen some big companies with 500-word articles with not much on them, but they've just got a super specific kind of title that people are looking for a lot, and they can drive a ton of traffic off that. It's
Yep.
crazy. So, yeah, I completely agree with you. Blogging is not dead. Blogging on the kind of the blogging is dead is coming from a group of people that run what you call affiliate niche sites, and Google's latest update is absolutely like crush a lot of those, and they're like, oh, the blogging era is over. And I wouldn't say it's over for that industry, but it's definitely been hit hard. I found that the e-commerce industry has not been hit anywhere near as hard by that update, and there's still ample opportunity to do really well in the blogging space for e-commerce.
I think if anything, they've favored the ecom. That's the great thing. If you're
I
running an
agree.
ecom store now, and I'll be honest, uh, I was running a little side project affiliate site, purely content based. So it was just blogs, and we were ranking very well. And then that update hit, and we got absolutely annihilated, and we haven't recovered since. So not that I've really focused too much of my attention on that site. It was more of a kind of side project, but yeah,
Just basically as well, when we're talking about Google updates, so Google, periodically will update their algorithm, and based on that algorithm, it will favor some sites over other sites. So, or they might implement something that, they're looking at certain aspects of sites to give them kind of a higher authority. I'm thinking about that. What was it called, Charles? The
yeah,
EEAT
yeah.
update. So I'm thinking about that one specifically because e-commerce kind of really was like advantaged by that update because they've got the business details on there. It looks super authoritative. So it was the little mum dad blogs that you know, didn't have any kind of sources or what you would call authority that kind of, struggled in that update too. But yeah, like I said, ample opportunity at the moment for e-commerce in that space.
Yeah. And I think actually, Jimmy, at some point we should probably do a deep dive into how to best lay out a blog that's going to give you the best possible chance of ranking on the first page, because layout and user experience is so important, in my opinion, just as important as the actual content itself.
Yeah, I think that's a good leadway into advertorials because that's
Yeah.
kind of what I'm kind of looking at the moment, like experimenting with apps like that I could test to kind of do this, make it look good. So when we talk about advertorials, we're talking about kind of almost blog content that you would use as a sales piece for your product. So one, it's informative, it's got a lot of information, but it's basically there to sell your product and gets you to the product page on your e-commerce store. So if you can rank those, so the issue with some blogs is that they might drive a hell of a lot of traffic, but the topic that they're written about, it's just not conducive to like go to your website and purchase anything. So you're getting all this traffic, but they're not actually purchasing from you at all. So the idea behind creating an advertorial piece is, hey, we want to drive this traffic, but we also want them to buy our products as well. So at the moment, like me and Charles have been discussing this, the advertorial page is almost a cross between it benefits. I wouldn't say it's a cross between AdWords. It definitely benefits Google Ads because you can send top of funnel traffic. When I say top of funnel traffic, I'm talking about traffic of, not aware of your brand, but like trying to research whatever you're about. And you can send them to a page like that and potentially convert them from that page. The SEO, you want the article to be, heavily optimized for keywords so you can rank, but there's also a very heavy design element to it as well. So it's not just a blog block of text. It looks really good. It's got visual elements. It's basically there to sell your product. And it's kind of combining three worlds. It's combining the user experience, the content and SEO, and then it's providing Google ad media buyers like myself the opportunity to actually bid on what you would call informational queries, which, especially in the e-commerce space, a lot of media buyers avoid because typically they don't convert that well. So, but if you've got a page specifically built to convert those people doing that research, then you're going to be at an advantage. So they're the kind of pages that Charles and myself are looking at doing at the moment. I'm looking at doing one in the supplement space. Charles is looking at doing one in the car part space. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how it goes. So we will run these tests for you and kind of give you feedback on the results. But yeah, if you can create blog posts with the thought in mind that, hey, I want to build this blog post to actually sell my product rather than just get people to the website. Because if you're just getting people to the website and they're never purchasing, then doesn't matter how much traffic you get, your e-commerce business isn't going to grow. So if you can get people to the website and actually sell them in the process, then yeah, it's a win-win. So they're the kind of articles or advertorials that we're looking to build in the very near future.
Yeah, no, I think it's a nice way of doing it, and actually, there's not that much competition
I
there. I've
agree.
not really seen. I mean, you were the one that shared it with me, Jimmy. There was one company in particular that you mentioned, but I've not seen it. It's not used that much. There is,
I would say it's been around for a very long time, but it's just so underutilized.
especially in ecom, especially in
Yeah.
ecom. Like um, I've seen it in different marketing industries. Yeah, I can think of one or two prominent SEOs that have done it very well on their website in terms of not necessarily advertorials, but they've used design with blog so they've kind of condensed that into more of a landing page content page rather than just a standard straightforward classic blog. um but yeah, I've not seen it too much in the ecom space, which shows that there's a lot of opportunity in many different industries.
And even Ben that we discuss e-commerce stuff with every now and then. Hopefully, we'll get him on one of these calls one day.
Yeah,
Ben,
for
if you're
sure.
listening, we hope you jump on soon. But he even shared kind of when we told him that we were looking into advertorials, he was like, "Oh, do you mean something like this?" And he sent us like the prime example of an advertorial. I'm like, this is exactly what I mean. Like, this is what businesses need to be doing more of. And yeah, we kind of chatted to Ben, explained our reasoning behind it, and yeah, he was on board with it too. He could definitely see the value in it. So uh, yeah, getting a really good designer to build it. I'm kind of my issue at the moment is I don't know whether I want to use a page builder or I want to use a blog modifying app. So I'm kind of testing a lot and um, yeah, basically come back here once I've got some solid data to say this is what I recommend because I've tested several things now and this is what's worked.
Mm. Yeah, I'm the same. I'm not building it myself, but working with my clients in house, designer developer. But we're working very closely to kind of build a really nice design that we can kind of then replicate for other pages as well. But it'll be
I think,
interesting to see how it performs.
especially on this podcast, I always call it podcast, so it's not. It's really just us chatting shite. But yeah, I always say that I want this podcast to be like data that me and Charles actually have. I don't want to give you guys theoretical stuff that we haven't tested. Like the stuff that we're talking about, we're either testing right now or we have tested previously.
Yeah. Just on that, actually, Jimmy, I was having some conversations in the week and with Ben actually, and another person, another developer, and the tool that was mentioned in order to look at how your website is performing in terms of where people are clicking, Microsoft Clarity. I don't know if you're
Yeah,
familiar with
no,
that one,
that's really good,
but
especially for heat maps. So
okay. I'm
yeah,
going to
so
be
the heat
delving in this week and checking my client site and seeing,
This is
yeah,
a really good one because Microsoft Clarity, one, it's free,
yep,
and two, so what Microsoft Clarity will do is you put it on your e-commerce store and you can basically watch recordings of how people are using your site, but it also provides you heat maps too. So you can have it will show you your site and it will have heat maps of where people are clicking. So it's a really good thing to optimize your navigation bars because you can see where people are clicking and how much. But it's also good to see where people are actually going to on your site and how far down they're making it. And Yeah, it's really valuable data. The heat maps are good because it gives you, data over a lot of sessions. The recorded things I've never felt that were that great because you literally have to watch every single one. So it's
Yeah,
very,
yeah,
it's very, it's very time consuming and it's hard to see trends. But
yeah.
if you do have a problem on your site and you're not sure what it is or the sales are dried up, you can go and look at a couple of longer recordings and see where people are actually dropping off. So it can be really helpful.
Yeah, I'll be checking that out this coming week. I just got a notification from my client's web developer to say that they give me access. So yeah, I'll delve in and let you
Yeah,
guys know
and
how it is.
yeah, more so than that, let us know like what data you're finding useful and how you're able to implement it in an SEO sense as well.
Yeah,
Like I'm thinking of like if they're using the nav menu a lot and you're finding that they're clicking on one particular phrase, you're like, okay, let's use this phrase and put it in blog articles and see if it's doing better or make sure it's a prominent feature on the homepage. Like it'd be interesting to see what your thoughts are on the data that you're actually getting from the heat maps.
yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm also looking at things like time on the page, which the suggestion that that is a ranking factor from my experience. The more time someone spends on a page, typically I found there's a correlation between higher rankings. That's not always the case. Um, but yeah, I would be looking at that particular metric as well, to give an idea in terms of how well that page is performing.
Let's um let's dive into content assets because it's something that you want to discuss as well. Because I think having heat maps and the content assets could be really helpful as well. So when you're kind of looking at content assets, Charles, firstly, what do you mean by a content asset? How are you finding it useful, and how can e-commerce businesses use it to grow?
Yeah, so when I mean content asset, I basically mean anything that can effectively drive, an influx of traffic to your site. What type, and when I say asset, it could be anything from a a calculator around a particular
Okay.
subject. It could be augmented reality where I'm trying to I have a client of mine and one of their pages performing very well. But I'm slightly reluctant to give away the full secret sauce because if they but
No, I wouldn't say what it is, but I think you can say it's in the augmented reality space.
well it's not in the yeah, it's the actual tool is basically it's it allows you
You
to
use it.
customize a
Use it for
go.
like I think you can use it for real estate. So basically, if you were like selling e-commerce products in a house, this would basically be like a 3D model of the house, taking you through the house with products situated throughout the house. And you're like, oh, that looks really good on that wall type thing. I'll purchase that product. So I think that's a good way to
I think that's
put it
perfect. Yeah,
without
I
kind of
was.
giving any of your client details away.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was trying to. I was failing miserably there, but you put it very eloquently, Jimmy. Um, yeah, you could do it exactly that. I mean, and whereby that they could visually see how furniture looked in a house, and you could actually purchase from within that page. So again, from my experience and from doing this on my client site, we've had great success in the amount. I was surprised the amount of traffic that these pages are generating because it's different. And it, yes, there is an investment. There's, I want to obviously stress that these things, I don't know how expensive they are to build, and there is some complexity to them. But you do really differentiate yourself from your competitors, and you're not just, as we talked about earlier, writing just a bunch of standard blogs to try and drive traffic. You're actually creating real content assets that your customers will, get some real value from. Uh,
With that, Charles, so it sounds like from an SEO perspective, obviously you're all measuring success on the traffic that comes through, but are they converting to sales as well from the data that you can see?
yes, yeah, yeah, they are. And yeah, if done in the right way, for sure. Like you said, with a tool that allows you to, uh, like as we use the example, you're seeing how the furniture looks in your house, and then you're able to purchase that particular table and chairs directly from that page. So it provides you with a checkout. Yeah, looking into the data, we are seeing that's
Yeah,
converting, which is great.
imagine like you like kind of the Hamptons style feel kind of scenery in a house. So you're looking at Hamptons feel and you can literally go on a 3D tour through this house and be like, oh, I like that piece, I like this piece, I like that piece, and you're able to purchase it straight through that 3D tour. Like the possibilities are endless, and that's 100% going to move into virtual reality and augmented reality. So it's coming. It hasn't been mainstream adopted yet, but it's coming. Like people are going to put on these glasses and just go into a world and be like, yeah, I want this, I want that, I want
Yeah.
this, and they're going to purchase it through there. So I mean, be ready for that because it's not that far off. It's the mainstream adoption's probably a little bit further off, but the technology's closer than ever.
Yeah, I mean, even things like being able to, for clothing brands, being able to, whether you're uploading a picture of
Yeah.
yourself, and then you can see
I've
what you
seen
look
them
like
actually.
in a
Yeah.
in a suit jacket, or yeah, the next level being actually to able to jump into a kind of VR experience where you can, it feels like you're actually wearing the jacket before you purchase it. That's kind of going to be the next level of ecom, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's definitely it's gonna take websites to a whole different level, and yeah, on that too. I think I think the last thing that I think we've covered a lot. We've done well tonight. So
Yeah.
the last thing what I wanted to chat about was like what you guys need to know when kind of building a new website. Actually, what can you just go on? Maybe just give an example of another content asset, Charles. My backlight's gone off and it's annoying me, so I'm
Yeah,
gonna
no,
try to charge it and get it back on, and then come back on. Hang on.
yeah. Well, one thing that I wanted to mention is what you can do is look into some of the SEO tools out there, like SEMrush or Ahrefs, or even doing a Google search to see what your competitors, if they've built any content assets that you can reverse engineer and produce a far better content asset for your own store. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel and create something completely brand new. Have a look into the keyword data and see if there is what people are searching for. Are they looking for, a particular calculator, or are they looking for, that's going to give you some measurements in terms of particular clothing? I'm trying to think of a better example here, but for sure, you don't need to kind of start from scratch with these things. You can look into to some of the keyword data and see what people are searching for. You can do some competitor analysis to see if you can find any content assets within your industry, or even what I like to do is look at a completely different industry and then create a content asset that industry is doing, but for your own industry. So you're not completely copying your competitors, but you're creating something that's already out there, but just in a different field.
A lot of businesses are using surveys now. And when I say surveys, it's like you land on the website and, it's asking for your age, asking for your sex, asking you, you know, your age demographic. So they're basically funneling you through a survey to give you your desired outcome, basically. Like tailoring the results to whatever you put in the survey. The only horrible thing about them though is I find no matter what you put in, they recommend you the same things. It's just a collection of details, and then
Yeah.
see you later. But there's some companies that do it well and do tailor it. So, but yeah, content
Yeah,
assets
surveys
is a
is a good way.
content
Yeah.
content assets is a is a good one. So, and something that people can at least experiment with and try out for themselves.
Yeah.
Sorry to leave you hanging there, mate. We'll
No,
jump
no, all
into
good.
we'll jump into websites now. The only reason I want to talk about websites is because I am managing a build for a client at the moment, and it's just really interesting. So in terms of I'm dealing with one of what I would call the more reputable website builders in the game. Their team's been fantastic, but it's taken a lot of iterations to kind of get it to where we want. So, and this is what I want to tell people, even if you go to like a really great web development company, they don't know your vision for the website. So you need to really do the groundwork in one, how you want it to look, and two, how it stacks up against your competitors. So basically, how we've been doing it is we have a look at the biggest players in the space, and then we start breaking down each individual module on their website, and we kind of cut and paste modules from each competitor that we like, and we try to make a website that combines all the best stuff that we like from every website and build that. Um, so it doesn't look like any other website because it's got, you know, pieces from everywhere and we've just tailored them and built them. But it's taken a long time to kind of craft that and get it to where it needs to go. But I've realized, like, because I can see the vision of what I want it to look like, but it would be so hard for a business owner if they've just gone to like a web development company and they're just like, hey, do you like this version? And the business owner doesn't really know what they're looking at in terms of, is this going to convert? Is it going to do well? Um, so they're relying a lot on the web dev company, but there's definitely been some things in kind of the iterations that I've just been like, oh, this looks horrible. Like, we need to change this. This isn't going to work. I'm talking about especially mobile views. Like, so much of the stuff was scroll across function. I'm like, no, I want to show all these categories on the homepage without the scroll function. So, and this week, like, they took on all our feedback and they sent back the mock version. I'm like, this looks fantastic. But it just reinforced the importance of, hey, like, you need someone in your corner that knows what they're doing and what to look for to get the best out of these capable, even though they're super capable and can do a great job, they don't see your vision. They can give you a website that, they will say has experience in converting, but if it, you don't want your website to look like every other one of their clients either. So the main things that we've been working on at the moment are the homepage, the inner pages, which when I'm talking about inner pages, I'm talking about contact us, about us, those kind of pages, just the inner pages of the website. And then the one that we spent a lot of time on too was the mobile version. And this is the one, because everyone that does a web dev, like, does it on their computer. They're not developing your website on their phone. And it's so neglected. Like, you have a look at the mobile version and it's just kind of a put together version of the desktop version. What you've got to consider though is somewhere, sometimes up to 85% of your traffic is coming from mobile. It's
Yeah.
not actually landing on a desktop website. So if you haven't spent the same time, or if not more time, on the mobile version, you're doing yourself a real disservice. Like, don't spend all your time on the desktop version. The desktop version's important, but the mobile version is where the majority of your traffic is coming from. So make sure it looks good and it works. And that was one thing that I found. The desktop version looked fantastic when we finished the mocks, and then they made the mobile version off that desktop, and it just kind of lost the magic. But now they've implemented the changes, and I'm really happy with how both look now. But it was a process to get there. So this is what I'm trying to instill on people kind of building a website. You need to look at the biggest players in the space and look at each individual elements on their website, what they're doing. And the reason I say look at the biggest competitors in the space is they're the ones that have spent all the money on testing already. So if you can if you can just model someone that's potentially spent hundreds of thousands, potentially millions of dollars on their website, testing and optimizing, you'd be crazy not to at least start there. Um, but yeah, it's a process too. So you want to focus heavily on the mobile version of your website. You also want to have really good filter function and navigation menu. They're so underrated, and I'm realizing more and more as I dive into this just how poorly some navigation menus are and how much potential more traffic they could be getting from it. Um, and when I say collection pages or category pages, you don't you want to focus more on the layout of them on the website build, not necessarily what's on them. When you're going through the website build, it's more about the layout, and you do want a tiny bit of text in there somewhere, at least 150 words, just kind of describing the collection page or the category page or what it is. It's from what I'm seeing in the data already for a few clients that I've just tested this on, it just drives so much more traffic. Um, so just even having a little blurb. So keep that in mind when you get into collection category pages. Make sure it does have a little blurb, and the filtering options are really good. And the big ones that a lot of people neglect because they focus so much on what's on the front end, by the time they get to the checkout page, it's horrible. But make sure that's optimized too. It's the final step to get them over the line, and you don't want them jumping off that for any reason. So make sure that's optimized too. But we're going to talk a lot more about websites. Hopefully, we can get Ben on here as well to chat about it too, because it's just so important. Like, if you have a horrible website, it's going to really affect your conversion rates and how many sales you're doing. And we're all about increasing your sales here. And it starts with a good website, and a good website will enhance your marketing out of sight. So, if you think about it, if your website's converting at, let's say, 1.5%, if you can get a website that converts at 3%, you've just saved yourself doubling your budget. So, like doubling your advertising budget to get there. So, if you're spending $10,000 on a website that on ads, Facebook ads, or whatever it is, Google ads, whatever, if your website's converting at 1.5% and you want to double your sales, you're going to have to spend $20,000 to get there. Or you can invest in optimizing your website so it converts better, um, doing best practice, and hopefully getting it to a place where it's converting at 3%. All of a sudden, you've saved yourself that need to spend $10,000 a month to an extra $10,000 a month to double your sales. So the website is really important.
Yeah, no, it's really good points, Jimmy. I think I wanted to emphasize the mobile design, what you mentioned about, and I've seen in some cases mobile traffic being like three, four, sometimes even five times higher than desktop traffic. So, and it's so it's just not looked at enough when designing a website. It's always like they give you a desktop design, and then the mobile, like you said, is an afterthought, and it needs to be actually the reverse in most cases, especially now in 2024.
I agree.
Yeah, good
And like
stuff.
it the slide fun the thing the gripe I have with the slide across function is it's not always obvious that it's there. So like people miss it. Um and that's what I've kind of spoken to about the developers. I'm like, look, this is great, but like I've skipped half of the website because I didn't even realize that there was a scroll across function. And then what I've done is I've looked at the 10 biggest competitors. I've looked at how their site works on mobile version. Their swipe across function is extremely obvious and noticeable. So what I've done to our web devs is I'm like, here's 5 examples of what I think is a really good swipe across option. It's obvious to me. This is what I want our site to look like. So when I say I'm going to competitors, like I'm looking at individual elements of that and saying, hey, I think, because if you just say to your web developer, I don't like this, they're not going to know where to go. You need to be very specific and give specific examples of how you want it to look like. Because one, it helps the process, stops everyone getting frustrated, and it's basically clear and concise of what you want the website to look like, and everyone's happy with the end result if you can do that.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. Yeah, I think providing them with clear instructions is key. I've seen many cases where I've worked in companies before and managers have gone, "Oh, I don't like that design." Well, what do you not like
Yeah,
about it? And then
exactly.
it
I
and
think
then it
that too.
and then it demotivates the designer who's actually working on the project because they're having to, completely start from scratch, or
100%.
they've got no direction on where to go now because they're worried about making another mistake. Um,
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. You don't like it? Okay, well, what don't you like about it? And give me examples of things that you do like so I can implement that. And then they're like, oh, I don't know. And then that's when the money starts racking up for these companies. Oh, websites are so expensive. No, they're not. What you're doing is you're prolonging it. You're having to pay for draft after draft because you have no idea what you want and you don't like anything. So,
yeah,
like
yeah,
the more concise you can be and the more examples that you can give, the better off for everyone. Web dev company, your company, and like you mentioned, Charles, just the morale of staff that may be working on it as well.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I think another point I would mention is you kind of need one main decision maker who's in terms of going to give the overall approval because I've been
And
it.
that decision
Yeah,
maker needs to understand conversion rate optimization.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's the
yeah,
one good. It should not be the business owner that's never touched marketing. So someone in the marketing team should be making the final decisions for the website, not based on feel or emotion, based on data and what converts.
yeah, yeah. I could bring up a few examples of companies I've worked with where 12 months
Oh,
down
me
the
too.
line and we're still waiting on a website because there's
Me
10
too.
10 decision makers. It's like, yeah, but hopefully you guys are not in that position and you can make the have the right person to make the final call. Um,
I'm really impressed with us tonight. We've covered everything that we've wanted to. We've hit the hour mark pretty much on the dot, and just got to give a call to action at the end of the podcast. Make sure you guys join the e-commerce marketing community on Facebook. Me and Charles are in there. It's still really new. I think what we have about 36 people in there at the
yep,
moment. So if any
36.
of those 36 people are listening, thank you so much. Keep asking your questions, and we're here to help keep growing your business through marketing tactics. So any more questions, throw them in the group, and me and Charles will do everything we can to help you out, especially in these early stages. Take advantage of it. We're looking to provide as much value as possible in these early stages, almost on an individual basis. So if you need help, me and Charles are in there to answer any questions you have. So feel free to jump in and ask away in this prime time of the early group.
Yep. Yeah, we're here. We're here to help. So please do. Please do.
All right, we'll
Good
call that
stuff.
a wrap. Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll catch you next week.